I'm about to ride. It's the KLH show, starring me, KLH. I'm telling you, you better hold on to something.
What's going on, Waterbury? It's me, your man KLH, back in your TV screen, here to save the world 30 minutes at a time. Yes. You know, I always appreciate you folks out there. I know you have a lot of viewing choices out there. You made this one, and I appreciate every single one of you for that choice. All the millions and millions of you tuning into the KLH show. Gotta think positive. Yeah, so what's going on? We're gonna touch on a couple of subjects. You know what I do. Tiger Woods came back, won the Arnold Palmer, the Jack Nicklaus Memorial Tournament. He has won the tournament 4 other times. He came back in the end, made a crazy shot toward the end there to come back, overcame a deficit. He was behind several shots, came back, won. Tiger Woods is back in the building. I'm a Tiger Woods fan, what can I say? He did some dirty stuff, but that's between him and his wife. I don't care as long as he looks good on the course. What else? I want to talk a little bit about politics. And, you know, I get into politics quite a bit. And I've talked about this a bit, and I want to jump into it a little bit more. Moderation in politics has become a dirty word. I heard some elected officials talking about this with some moderators of some political talk shows, and they were discussing about how moderation has become a dirty word, how compromise has become a dirty word. And I think just that thought is crazy. Conservative Republicans are willing to throw to the wolves any Republicans who are moderate. Liberal or progressive Democrats, again, are willing to throw out anybody, to primary against them, to do all they can to get them elected out of office, anyone who's willing to compromise with the other side. If you're a hardcore partisan, meaning that if you are a hardcore Republican, conservative, or a hardcore liberal Democrat, you might think that sounds great. The problem with it is that the business of we, the people, never gets done. They wrangle and wrestle and fight and fuss and call each other all kinds of names, and it might be good television, but it's not good business for our government. And in the meantime, nothing gets done. So why are they there? I think that our elected officials, for the most part, I'm not going to say each and every single solitary one, but most of them, the vast majority of them, are there to hold on to their jobs. And they have figured out that the best way for them to hold on to their jobs is to appeal to the hardcore wings of their prospective parties, be it Democrat or Republican, because they know that when it comes time for re-election, they're going to need the financial support that the party can give them. They know that in order to get anything at all done in Congress, they're going to need the support of their party. And so they toe the line, and they do what the more senior members of Congress pretty much tell them to do. And again, we, the people, lose out. And I feel like this. Whenever, eyes are bothering me, it's crazy. Whenever your argument is that I am all right and correct, and you are all wrong and incorrect, you're never going to get anything done. And if you listen to any of these political talk shows for more than 2 minutes, that's exactly the case. The Republicans think that everything that Barack Obama and the Democrats do is wrong. And the Republicans think that everything that I lost track here. The Democrats think that everything that the Republicans do are wrong. And so they refuse to compromise. They refuse to give up anything whatsoever. And so nothing gets done for the government. Very soon we are getting ready to face another situation where the debt ceiling for our country needs to be raised. In other words, the country needs to borrow money, unfortunately, which does add to our deficit. They need to borrow money in order to keep the function of the government going. In order to do that, because we are already at our legal borrowing limit. Let's say, if you use the analogy of a credit card, we have X number of dollars available on the credit card. Our country is maxed way out. And they need to raise the borrowing limit on the credit card in order to keep the government going. Well, the Republicans once again are willing to hold that hostage. Some hardcore people might say, yeah, that's right, they should hold it hostage. Here's the problem. Our government can't function without raising the debt ceiling to have the money that's needed to make the government function. So the Republicans say, we want for there to be corresponding spending cuts to any debt ceiling increase. The Democrats agree that, yes, we do need to get some spending cuts on the table, but it takes time to do that, especially in the Congress the way it is, where nobody wants to cooperate with anybody. And the Democrats feel, listen, we need to raise the debt ceiling and stop playing around with this. The last time it happened, the credit rating of the United States was downgraded for the first time in history. It wreaks havoc on the stock markets. It hurts our economy. It hurts everything. There's no upside to a downgrade in our credit rating. But the Republicans are willing to play with it, and the Democrats are unwilling to seriously address real spending cuts. So again, we, the people, lose out. The other really odd situation that you find watching these political shows is you can have a Republican on one side, a Democrat on the other, and when they discuss an issue, any issue, each side can explain the issue in an exactly opposite way. And they're all smart people, and so if you listen to one side, it sounds plausible. If you listen to the other side, it's opposite, but it also sounds plausible. We, the American people, get left like, I don't know. And so I think that as we are getting into the thick of this new presidential campaign between President Obama and former Governor Mitt Romney, I came up with an idea that I think could be quite interesting. And it is, I have established an online petition, and the petition URL on the internet, bam, is right there. www.go-petition.com/keep-them-honest.html. It's right there. Go online, check it out. The idea is this. For all of the upcoming presidential debates, we should have live, independent fact checkers to verify what the candidates are saying so that they are forced to be honest with the American people. Bam! I think it could be revolutionary. I think it could change the complexion of politics. I think it's potentially extremely important. And think about it, if both President Obama and Mitt Romney, Governor Romney, were forced to be honest with us, we would have some real choices instead of what we have now, where everybody, Obama and Romney, all the senators and congressmen, they spin the facts and they say it in such a way that they avoid giving us a full answer. They twist it to their own agendas. I think that is all nonsense. And again, and I keep saying it, we the American people lose out for it. And I think it's high time that we change that. Please go online, sign the petition. It'll take you 30 seconds to do it. Have everybody you know sign the petition, and then once we get enough names on it, send it to all the major networks and get them to sign on. I think it will be great for the networks. And here's the thing, if the politicians, if Mr. Obama or Mr. Romney decide they don't want to do it, they should be compelled to explain to us why they don't want to be held to a standard of accuracy and honesty. I think that for us, citizens of the United States of America, it would be a phenomenal win for us, and it would really change things, because when the politicians are forced to be honest with us, we get real information so that we can make real decisions. And we deserve to get honest answers from them, because after all, they are working for us. And when they start to realize that we are in charge, they will start doing the work of the people. Things have run off the rails because we the people let it run off the rails. And if we take back our power, which is how this country was founded, it's supposed to be a government by and for the people, and it has changed to where it's the powerful people that are the ones who the government looks after, and those folks who aren't powerful are the ones who get the scraps or ignored entirely. It is high time that we change things and that we force our government officials, our elected officials, to be honest with us, and also to do the work of the people, and also to learn that compromise is not a dirty word, that moderation is not a dirty word. Compromise is the only way to get things done in this country as far as the political system is concerned. Nobody's just gonna roll over and play dead and let the other side run all over them. That's never going to happen. Any of the great accomplishments in this country have come about because of compromise, because of people recognizing the simple fact that you and I already know, is that you're never gonna get everything you want. Not in any kind of relationship whatsoever. You're never gonna get everything you want. You could get some things, you cannot get everything you want. So please go online, sign that petition. It's so important. And as I always say, tell somebody to tell somebody, and let's get it cracking. Let's really make a difference for our own good and for the good of the younger generations coming up. And regarding the political parties, I want to talk just real briefly about some of the differences and some problems that I have with both sides, because I do indeed have problems with both sides. The Democratic platform, some of the main ideas they talk about, some of their main talking points are that the government needs to invest in infrastructure, they need to invest in education and research, and that the government has an obligation to maintain entitlement programs like Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, things like that. They also believe that the government should adopt a fairer tax system, that people who are wealthy should pay the same proportionate amount, in other words, the same percentages of their income as lower earners, like middle class people. There's a thing that Obama likes to refer to as the Buffett rule, which is that a secretary shouldn't be paying a higher percentage in taxes than her boss. Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world, happens to agree that that should not be the case. I think that personally the progressive tax program that we have, I don't care for, because once I get rich, I don't want to pay a higher percentage than everybody else. But what the problem is that right now, really rich people pay a lower percentage of their income because the tax code is bent in such a way that it favors them. Why? Because they get into the heads and maybe even into the pocketbooks of, in one way or another, maybe even legally, maybe it's all legal, but they have undue influence. They have influence over policy that you and I do not have, and that is wrong. So as far as investment in infrastructure, education, and research, this is a great thing. Certainly we need it. The problem with it is that it costs money. As you may know, if you follow anything with politics, there are gigantic deficits in this country, and that the money doesn't appear out of the clear blue sky. That money comes from one place and one place only, out of the pockets of taxpayers. So if you're interested in these things, they got to be paid for. The Democrats don't like to talk a lot about that. It's almost as if they feel like the money is just magically appears, and it doesn't. It comes out of people's pockets. And as far as the entitlements, again, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, these things come out of the pockets of people who work. And if you want to maintain those things at their current levels, somebody has got to pay for it. And I think that that's something that the Democrats have to get a better handle on and incorporate it into their platform and explain in real ways how these things will get paid for. As for, excuse me, wet my whistle a little bit. As far as, also I just want to illuminate a little bit on the thing about the fair tax code. The Democrats are screaming about the rich, the 1%, they need to pay their fair share of taxes, and as if that's a part of why our deficit is as high as it is. Fact of the matter is, if the rich paid a higher percentage in taxes, it would just barely scratch the surface of our deficit. So it's a bit of a red herring in a way. It's kind of a diversionary thing to force the Republicans to put their hands in the pockets of the people who they're supporting, because Republicans are typically, all politicians are, but the Republicans, as a matter of almost policy, they want to stand up for big business. They want to stand up for the super successful people, which is great, because I don't look down on rich folks at all, and I intend to be one of them, and I don't want nobody looking down on me. But it's a diversion by the Democrats to suggest that this is going to in any real way impact our deficit or our debt. Now, the Republicans, some of their main talking points are that they want to cut taxes on business in particular, and with the idea that if taxes are lower, that businesses will invest in their businesses, which will ultimately wind up creating jobs. Seems like a great idea, except that when the tax cuts that President Bush put in place, when those tax cuts were put into place, they resulted in ultimately in this recession that we're in. To me, if rich folks get lower taxes, they're going to put it in their pocket. That's not going to make them invest. At least I don't think so. But the Republicans feel like lowering the taxes will ultimately broaden the tax base, bring more people into the pool that are paying taxes, be able to pay off our debt, make our economy thrive. Now, I am certainly all for lowering taxes. You could lower them right down. And I think that's a great thing, but to suggest that that's going to be the thing that is going to make our economy thrive, I think that's a bit suspicious. Another thing that Republicans are very big on is reducing the size of government. I kind of agree, but I think they go a bit far. Ronald Reagan is famously quoted as saying, government is the problem. And I think that if you feel like government is the problem, then you need to get out of government. Because I think that the government can be the solution, or certainly a big part of the solution. Definitely private business is something that is largely responsible for a thriving economy, but an effective government working for the people can enable private enterprise to spark our economy and help us all to thrive. So I'm kind of in the middle on that. I think government can do good if we make it do good by voting in people who will look out for our interests. And we average earners, middle income people, and poor people need to speak up, make our voices heard, so that we get people in office that will look after our interests. Because you can rest assured it happens all the time that the rich folks, they're getting up in there and they're making their presence felt. And when their presence is felt, they get their way. So, things we need to think about, and things that are good on both sides of the aisle, Democratic and Republican. Nobody's all right. Nobody's all wrong. Nobody has all the answers. But if you put it all together, if you get people to really take their jobs seriously, to really get that they are public servants, and public servants are supposed to serve. That ain't what's happening now. And we need to change that, and we can change it. And again, go check out the online petition that I started. Bam, it's getting a slow start, but everything gets a slow start. We can make this thing happen. I'm depending on you folks to get out there, sign the petition. Let's get hundreds of thousands of names on it. Let's really make this thing go viral and turn into something big. Everybody, no matter what political philosophies and ideals you have, it will benefit you. So that's what it is, man. I have seen some things on TV, and talking to people, you oftentimes hear people say the reason why their relationship went bad or is troubled is because the other person did this, that, or the third. If you talk to women, the guy has a dog. I did everything perfectly, and he went out and cheated on me. Or I did everything perfectly and he doesn't pay attention to me. This, that, and the third. If you talk to men, oh, the woman's yapping, and she's always fussing at me, and I did everything personally. I was a good husband, good father, whatever. Or, she doesn't support me the way she used to, and so that's why I went out and I was getting it in with this other girl. It's crazy, man. And the thing is, we have to realize, the old saying we've heard a gazillion times, it takes two to tango, in both a negative way and a positive way. If a relationship is going to thrive, we have to realize that we both have to go all in for that relationship. We have to realize that we are playing for the same team. So often, folks get into a relationship, and I've been guilty of it many times, unfortunately, and I'm trying to learn to get better. We go into a relationship, and while we may love the other person, too often we wind up looking out for ourselves and mostly for ourselves. Now, it's silly, I think, to think that we're going to get into a relationship and only look out for the other person. That doesn't work, because then you get taken advantage of. But if we are only or even mostly looking out for ourselves, relationships will fail. So just like in politics, compromise is so very important. We have to realize that we're never going to get everything we want. And that's what it is. We are at the end of our show. And as always, if you have any questions, suggestions, you want to be a guest on the show, I swear I'm going to get a guest on the show. Anything, holler at me. Bam! KLHOUD1 at Comcast.net. Get at me. I would love to hear from you folks. If I get some responses, I read them on the air. I do get some nice responses occasionally in person, but I need something in writing so I can read it on the air. You feel me? Also, please go online to the petition. Bam! Right there. Sign it. Tell everybody you know, please, to sign it. It's so important. We can really create a revolution here in this country for us. Something that's totally legitimate. It's very simple to implement, and there's no good reason why both President Obama and Mr. Romney should have any problem with agreeing to having live fact checkers at every single presidential debate. Then after we get them on, we'll get everybody else on, all other politicians. We could change things, people. Word up. So you know what it is? At the end of every show, get our drinky drink on. Yeah! Got my little snifter here. Got some old granddad. Actually, I have a little mini Manhattan, one of my favorite drinks. Probably my favorite drink. Little bourbon, a splash of sweet vermouth. And you know what it is. May I live to be 100 years. May you live to be 100 years in a day. Peace. That's some real liquor right there, son. Peace.